welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I did this worn, vintage, antique looking paint job on this oil can. So to get this sort of fake antique sort of look, I'm going to actually be using a combination of some plastic coat red paint, just a gloss, and I'm going to be putting a little tiny bit of grease on just around some areas to make it look like the paint's actually worn off. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to give this a bit of a clean and a sand. I know it sounds weird if you're going to put grease on something to actually clean it first, but you're going to want grease and oil in certain areas. You want grease around where the hand placement usually is, so they'll be like worn along there, and then you'll be worn along the edges, probably along the front where oil or fuels drip down it. First we're going to give it a good clean, good degrease, and then we'll start putting a little bit of grease on, and then we'll go straight in with some paint. So I'm going to be using just a combination of standard window cleaner. It's great for removing grease and grime, and a little bit of the old panel wipe as a final clean. So I'll just spray a little bit of that on, go over a little bit of red scotch, just go over the whole thing, just to try and key it up a little bit and remove any grease and dirt, like so. So that's all degreased and clean. So now I'm going to get the grease and just place some areas where I think the paint will have worn off. I'll be using my original Castrol antique can. See, this is an original antique post-war, I think it is, and you see where the areas are all worn here. This is what we're going to go for, this sort of look, just by putting a little bit of grease in underneath the paint. So what we'll do is we'll take the multi-purpose grease, and then we'll start with the top here, and just dab little bits on around this area here, just to make it look a little bit worn. A few drips down the front. Don't have to go mad with it, I'm not going to go absolutely crazy with it. A few around the seam here, basically just copying what's on the original can. Around the actual handle, like that. I'm going to put that sticker on there, the water slide sticker, we're putting that on there as well, just to finish it off. So do some areas around that, around the base. So you get the picture, just a general coating of this grease, and this should, in theory, stop the paint from sticking and give the appearance of the paint actually being worn off, make it look a little bit older and worn as well. On there as well. Right, okay, so I think that'll be enough. So like I said, I don't want to go absolutely crazy with it. I'll put a little bit around that seam again as well. Okay, that out of the way, and give the paint a really good shake, and then we'll put lightly dust some paint on. The difficulty is now is actually painting it without getting it in the wrong places, so we'll just gently build this up slowly. I haven't put any primer on because I don't want the primer to show through, so just going straight in with the red. So without the primer it'll be a darker sort of finish, which is fine, which is what we want anyway. Get in there. Turn that round. If I do this, that's probably better. Finger in there. That's the repair I did on a previous video, you may have seen that, how I soldered that up, just with some silver solder and a soldering iron. If you didn't see that video, go back and watch it, you might find it interesting. Quite difficult doing this all around the camera. We'll just do a nice light coat. So I'll let that dry. Do another coat over the top, just build up the colour a little bit. I won't do the base, I'll do that last. And then we'll let that dry and we'll wipe it all off. In theory, just wiping off the areas where the grease is. So the paint is now dry, and in theory we should be able to just wipe off the areas and the grease, giving it that worn sort of aged look. It's definitely not how to paint things. I wouldn't suggest painting a vehicle like this unless you want to go for this really worn antique look. You just look there, just a little bit of this kitchen paper, that's what I'm using there, just to dab the grease off, giving that really nice sort of aged, worn look. Looks like the paint's chipped over the years. Actually marking the paint a little bit, which is fine. It's just what I want. So I want it to look older than new. I don't want it to look like fresh paint. Again, around the handle. That's where I went down with that. A little bit of grease inside there. See this on camera? Yeah. And then I'll just make it up where the hands of my fingers have actually worn over the years. Perfect, looking nice. Didn't go mad with the paint in some areas. I left some areas really thin. You can see there, you see the actual melt through. Looks like the paint's actually worn over the years. Gives it that sort of worn, aged look rather than brand spanking new paint. Did a little bit in there as well, didn't I? Yeah. Just wipe that off. Pretty good. May dust a little bit more just along the top here. I may leave it as it is. I actually think that looks quite nice. Nice aged look. So what I'm going to do now is put the graphic on in a minute, which is a water slide. Might let this dry a little bit longer actually, because I think the paint's still a little bit sticky, which is adding to the actual dulling down, which is nice, because I don't want it too glossy. I'm really happy with that. So I'm over here on the nice clean workbench. There's my water slide. I actually printed this offline, so I'm just going to place this water slide just on there. You may have seen a previous video where I did the fire extinguisher. The same principle, we're using Woody's Frisbee again as a little bowl, just with a little bit of water. Just pop a tiny bit of water in there, not a massive amount. And put a little water slide in there. These are all handmade, homemade ones. You can do them all at home. I spoke about it in the other video. I did the fire extinguisher one. Go back and watch that for reference. Just leaving that a couple of minutes to soak, and then we'll just slide it into place. Okay. So, in theory, we should pop this in place. And voila. Look at that. Not bad at all, straight into place. Give a quick dab. Rid of that. Woody can have his Frisbee back. A little bit of paint, a little bit of grease, just give it a nice antique sort of vintage look rather than a modern restoration. Just go pride place on a shelf somewhere now. It's a decorative item. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. There's similar sort of thing coming up, as well as some work on the cars as well. And I'll see you on the next one.